Paul DePodesta of Moneyball fame is now the president of baseball operations in Colorado. First, what was your initial reaction when you saw that he was the one that they had hired?
It was tough because, I think at the time, I don't know if you remembered this, but at the time, the two leading candidates, I think it was Amiel Sade and Matt Foreman, I think were the two guys who were leading public candidates. And they both dropped out like at the last second. And we were both thinking we were all thinking to ourselves, oh my God, what happened? Like what caused them? It seemed like everything was going so well. Now these very knowledgeable baseball minds just dropped out of this GM race, and it seems like we're back at square one. And then there were these rumors coming out that Dick Monfort was, having conversations with former players and about the GM role. And so we're in full panic mode and thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to fumble the bag, again, and this is going to be just another cycle of dysfunction. And so then when Paul DePodesta got announced as the president of baseball operations, I think it was just a relief that they found someone who had experience as an executive, whether it was football, baseball, a little bit of both. We were just relieved that it wasn't like just some former player and just some inside candidate, right? But then you start getting into the weeds, and obviously there were some concerns from the football side. He's been out of baseball for a long time. He signed Deshaun Watson to that crazy contract that is obviously has not aged well. But then you go back to his baseball time and you say, okay, well, he does have a lot of good baseball experience. He was the general manager of the Dodgers. He obviously has a movie based off of him. I think for what the Rockies needed, for what they need in the context of where they need someone who is an outside the box thinker, but who's very intelligent, who can approach this, I don't know, this sinking ship, for lack of a better way of putting it, and find unique, creative ways to start patching things up and start building this organization back. And I think in the conversations I've had with Paul DePodesta over the last few months, he is a brilliant baseball mind that I think has surrounded himself with other people that can make very good baseball decisions. I have good confidence. I have confidence in his ability, and I think he could be a good fit for this organization.
You're right, because when it initially was announced that he was the one that got hired, everybody was kind of just like, for an organization that had been struggling to stay modern and stay up to date on like analytics and stuff, they hired a guy who'd been out of the sport for a decade, and that kind of felt very
Mhm.
Rockies esque. But you're right. I've been reading a lot about him, and I think the hiring is probably going to be the strength of his, just like putting the right people in the right positions to succeed. Like obviously bringing in, like you said, Josh Burns and all the pitching development people, which they had lacked for so long. Um, yeah, I feel like one thing he's talked about a lot is just like alignment. Like he wants to
Yeah.
have like a clear like path forward to how this team wants to operate. Should that give fans hope that like he wants to bring in the right people and that he wants to get everything kind of on a better path?
Yeah, I mean, so I look at it like this. I mean, Paul DePodesta is the president of baseball operations. His job isn't specifically to make the trades or to make the free agent signings. His job is to surround himself with knowledgeable people that can all bring insight into those decisions, and then they can come to a collective agreement on those kind of things. I think in the past, the way the Rockies have done it was Dick Monfort had an idea or Bill Schmidt had an idea, and if they liked it and they thought it was a good idea, they just went ahead with it. Hence the Chris Bryant move, which was, I think, disastrous and flawed from the beginning. So Paul DePodesta hired Josh Burns, who was, one of the top executives for the Dodgers, helped build the Dodgers farm system to be one of the best, actually, I think rated the best farm system in Major League Baseball right now. So you hired him. You hired your assistant GM, Tommy Tanis, who with the Mets, who, single-handedly built up the Mets draft and development situation and, helped them to have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball. And then you go and you hire all of these pitching coordinators, who have this deep background in data and analytics and all of this kind of situation. And also Ian Levin as well, another guy who comes with a huge background in data and analytics and technology and all this kind of stuff. And so you've surrounded yourself with people who understand baseball. They're not just working in this Rockies vacuum. They bring in all of this different experience from their times working with other organizations. And it's the first time as a Rockies fan that I've sat there and said, man, I don't feel like we're this mom and pop coffee shop anymore, right? We're being run like this mom and pop shop like we've been doing in the past. This is a functional organization. And it's funny because I've talked to friends who have, who are fans of other teams, the Mariners and Yankees and all these other teams, and they laugh because they're like, well, isn't this how you're supposed to run an organization? But I'm like, yeah, but we haven't done that, right? Like the Rockies haven't been doing that for years. And for the first time in our lives, it feels like we are a functional, high functioning organization. And it's a breath of fresh air, man. So, yeah, there's still a lot of things that need to be done, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.